final piece, lost it on the way. A price I have to pay. Gotta read between the lines. There is no rest and no release till I solve the case. Gotta save my face. I'm the leader of the blind. Got my heart upon my sleeve. That's the major flaw.
Hello, people with the pedals and the amplifiers. We're looking at the reamp from Walrus Audio. Now, they came out with the Canvas DI, which is a DI box. It's a good one. But it's right now actually in, I don't have one here. It's in Studio B on the floor, running Rafael's keyboard into the control room because it's a stereo DI box. They now have a reamp box. And I'm going to tell you straight out, don't reamp because it's dumb. And I will say this many times while I show you how to reamp. I actually think it is not how music should be created. I'm sorry. It is, so what is reamping? Well, you're recording a DI signal. So you're recording a direct out of the guitar into the computer without any guitar equipment in between, into a high Z input, possibly on your audio interface or a DI box like the Canvas DI from Walrus Audio, or I know Walrus is paying me for this video, but doesn't mean I can't show you, other things. Something like the Palmer DI. This is the Palmer 2-channel DI box passive that they left here. There's many cool DI boxes. The Canvas is a good one. Palmer has a big reputation for DI boxes. Any of these devices, it'll turn your instrument signal into, or your guitar signal, instrument signal, into a mic signal, therefore longer cable runs and something about ohms and things. Technical words insert here. If you have an audio interface that has a high Z input, like I have right here on the Apollo, it has two high Z inputs right there, or my Apollo X4 on the table also has that. You can, of course, go directly into your interface. Now, you're recording a DI signal, and then you record that, hopefully at the same time monitoring some kind of amp or some kind of software, so you the fuck know what you're playing. And then later you can take that DI signal out of your computer, back into an amp, and fiddle with the sounds. It's pretty much, let's fix the shit that we didn't have right in the beginning, which is one of my gripes with reamping. Get it right the fucking first time. Okay. The issue is you have it in the computer and your audio interface has individual outs, hopefully, and you can assign that DI track to one of the individual outs. And then you have to get that line level signal back down to instrument signal that you can run into, where it gets interesting, pedals or back into amps. And then you can, instead of using the Red 7, use the Synergy, as I will demonstrate. My gripe with this is, you're reacting as a guitar player to the amp, the sag, the drive, the saturation, the attack, and everything. There's a helicopter. Sorry, doors open. It's warm. I'm already in summer gear. His name is Pepe. Anyway, you are reacting to these things as if they're part of your sound. You know why? Because they are. Putting a different one on later is not going to be your performance. It's going to be an estimate of your performance with different sounds. It's done primarily in metal, and I get it. Realistically, there is one or two kind of sounds that you're going for in metal, and a lot of it is interchangeable. But I'm sorry, for everything else, even in metal, I am of the opinion, dial in your sound the way you want it, react to it, play it, and then set it in stone by recording it that way. It's always worked for me. If you know what the fuck you're doing, you don't need to reamp. Now, of course, there's the argument of, yeah, but maybe the studio where they're mixing it has better amps and all that stuff. Yeah, but that can easily turn into, you are not really in charge of what it sounds like anymore. And it can turn into what Glenn is doing, and I love Glenn, but the first thing that Glenn does is look for the eye so he can send it through his amps. assuming from the get-go when he gets tracks that the tracks he got are not good enough. I sent him a mix. I recorded the sounds. Clearly the guitar sounds I wanted, but he didn't even consider those. He immediately said, where are the DI tracks? I want a reamp. That's a fallacy. Reamping should be the very last thing you do if the tracks are actually crap. If someone really didn't know how to mic a cab, if someone had the wrong IR on it, if someone had shit sounds, okay, maybe that can fix something. But it shouldn't be the go-to. And nowadays, it is the go-to. I don't like that. But Walrus Audio's idea is a little bit different because it's not just about going and taking this DI track into a different amp. You could also take a recorded guitar, as I will show you, and actually send it back into guitar pedals and be creative with it. What if you have a drum loop and you want to send that through guitar level gear or instrument level gear? That is what we're going to show you. I'm going to show you 3 things: traditional reamping, sending an already recorded guitar through an effect to post-process with pedals, and sending a drum loop through stuff to do fun stuff with it. So we will go into the setup and the routing, which is, I'm pretty experienced with this, but it is a mindfuck. So if you don't understand everything, that's totally fine. You will need an audio interface that is more flexible when it comes to routing. You will need an audio interface that can take this is my input and I'm sending it here at this level. And I'm getting it back in here, hopefully without any feedback issues. You will probably need a little bit more advanced interface when it comes to routing, just to let you know. So when we look at the canvas, which is on the table right here, from this side, we have a volume, which means really, the guitar signal you recorded can be changed. What is the actual, honest, true guitar signal? Nobody knows. This is the input from the audio interface. So the audio interface out of a line out, is going in here with the mic signal, converting that into a guitar signal right there on the output. Or you could actually go in with a 1/4-inch cable as well. So either XLR or 1/4-inch. On the other side, and of course we got cameras for that, there's a ground lift, which I actually need because I'm connected to my computer and my amps. Otherwise I have issues. You can hear that, right? It happens. Mute, which is helpful. Oh, that doesn't actually help. And phase and high pass filter. I want to try something actually. The ground lift. I'm right now going into the Red 7. I want to find out if the Morley Humno can fix that, because that should take that Red 7 out of the ground loop. Let's try that. Now, of course, the ground lift on the reamp from Walrus Audio can do it, but if you have issues like that and you don't have a ground lift, this should technically fix it. Let's find out. So all I did was extended my kettle lead, as Colin Scott calls it, and now there should not be any hum technically, if that was the issue. Let's see. Well, another situation where the Humno doesn't do the job. It is for certain kind of loops. Okay, but it doesn't hurt to be in the thing. But that's why the ground loop works. Phase is relevant because you do have timing issues between going out. In my case, they are so severe in terms of what is being recorded and what's being played that I will have to physically later on move the waveform to not be phasing. So let's go right here. And there we are with coffee. Before we go to Cubase, let me show you what we're doing. I'm right now connected into the high Z input on my Apollo from Universal Audio. So I'm going in on 1 right here. That is where my guitar is going in. So this is what the guitar now sounds like. Here we go. Now I need to of course, hear what I'm doing with an amp. And you could go through software, that works. It's probably the easier way if you just want it as a reference. But I actually want to record an amp, so I have my real amp and only use a DI as an emergency option. And for that, what I'm doing, so right now, this number 3 right here is actually going to the recording that you're hearing, and this cue number 2 is going out of the line out into the canvas. The canvas is then going into my normal guitar setup. Okay, so I'm playing into the computer, routing it out of Q2, pan to the left. So it's going mono out into the canvas reamp into my normal setup. So if I unmute that, I'm going to mute the DI so you don't hear the DI. We already heard it, okay? I'm going to mute this so I don't hear the DI. So it's being used and I can record it, but I don't actually hear it. And now I make you hear the aux right there. Haha, wait a second. I want to try something. You heard the wrong amp. Still a hum, so that's not happening. So right now we're in the red 7 up there. On the vintage channel. And of course, in the back here, I have volume control. So what is unity gain there? What is the actual guitar signal? That's, you have to do tests and, you know, plug directly into the amp and kind of find out. Now, of course, it's also related to my input level here. So you have a couple of gain stages that you have to control. So this is, in number 1, is where my DI signal is going. I'm routing it out with Q2 into the canvas, and that is going to the amp. That is then going to the aux, which is coming back in over here, where you see aux. And that is going out of Q3 so that you can actually hear it. Now we go into Cubase. I have a reamp guitar 1 track and a DI. So this will record the aux, the actual amp, so that I have this. Don't just record DI. If you have an amp, record it. Could be great. Could be what you need. And this is recording the DI. And if we look at the routing here, the routing is definitely complex with these things. Inputs, I have a DI guitar, which is coming in on high Z1. And then I have an output, which is the canvas, which is going out of Virtual 3. Virtual 3 on my console is this, where it says VST plugin. I got this down because we don't really, it could also be just muted. Doesn't really matter. And it is again going out of Q2. So that it is going to the canvas. Get it? Same thing as here, which is when we're playing it back, reamping, it will be sent to the canvas at this level. And again, there's another level. So you have to make sure that everything combined, it actually adds up to what the guitar level would have been. So, and that means I can play now through the computer into the amp, and I can record my track. Let's quickly check. This is definitely my DI right here. Oh, it is now actually playing out of the computer. We're gonna have to, wait. See, because it's being sent pre-fader to the canvas, we're gonna turn that off. Okay, so let's listen to that now. Okay, definitely my DI signal, that's what I want. Now I'm going to record this part with the amp and the DI. even messed up there, but whatever, I messed up, fine. So we have this now. Great. And that was recorded with the Red 7. Now, if I want a different amp, all I do is just go to different version here, new version, which we're gonna call Syn. Let's go to version 2 and call it Red. So, same track, new version, Synergy. I now go to the mixer. On this guitar DI, I have a pre-fader send at 0 dB, which is going out of canvas, which remember is going out of the audio interface into the canvas and now sending back into the amp. And I will actually now also hear this, but I don't really care. And all I gotta do is, because I have a switching system, switch to the Synergy. You might have to put a different amp there and plug it in. And technically, if I now hit record on this track, we should record the same thing without me playing it again with the Synergy, which is the Deliverance module.
There's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the final piece. Lost it on.
Okay, we can now mute this and actually probably switch between the two different versions. And it makes pretty much no difference because they're both good amps. But that is what you would do for reamping. And now, of course, I can do the same thing here. So that's good. That's the Syn. Let's just record here again, but with the Red 7.
There's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the final piece.
I made the same mistake with the A there again. So now, if I give this to any studio, they can go be smartasses and think that their amps are better than mine, or that they know more than the guy that recorded it. I don't know. I believe in make a decision and record it.
There's a puzzle in my mind.
I mean, does that need reamping? Don't buy this thing. You don't fucking need it. If you know what you're doing. I don't know. Maybe do. I don't know.
There's a puzzle in my.
So it definitely works. I think reamping is for people with option paralysis that just need way too much stuff and always have a backup, and that can't make a decision in the recording process, but actually finding the right sound and then going with it. I've done tons of albums and I never had to resort to reamping. However, it is a thing that's being done. It might save a recording if you don't have the greatest gear, if you're not sure about the cab, if you want the backup, and if you spend a lot of time and money on the recording, having that DI track as a backup is probably not a bad idea. I think the more creative way to use the Canvas reamp, and that is, I think, where you should use it, is what I'm going to show you right now. Back over here. So we're going to go make these tracks small, and we're going to go to what I recorded earlier. And so here's that same guitar. Now that same guitar right here is also being routed pre-fader to the canvas. That's how easy I can send this to the canvas. But this is not a DI signal. This is actually a recorded track, right? So if you follow me over here, I'm going to rewire a bit. So what I did now is, let's go through this. Let's go back on the table. I'm still sending the canvas, but the canvas is going out into this all pedal macro dose envelope filter, which is now going directly into my high Z2. I don't need speaker simulation. I don't need any amp thing because it's already a recorded guitar, right? So it's this signal right here. Let's turn this off. And I just want to do some fun stuff with it. So I'm sending it into the macro dose and then back into the computer, but it'll already be well-recorded guitar. So we're going here, we're turning the canvas on. And in order to actually hear what's going on, I should be able to mute that. Let's see if that does it. No, I can't. How do I'll pull this down because we just want to hear the processed signal, right? And that is going into the pedal, coming in on 2. I'm going to go to a sine wave here, rather slow. Let's see. Let's put this on loop. That's kind of cool. Well, we're going to go to filtered electric guitar, and that is coming in from pedal. And pedal, of course, is input pedal high Z2. So I'm recording that input on filtered guitar. And we're going to do that right about now. That's how simple that is. Let's do the same thing for the other side. Canvas, bam, that down. Add maybe a different speed. Let's figure this out. Again, routing is a bitch. You have to know at all times where your signals are coming in and out. But now I have these two things hard left and right. And then we actually layer that with the real guitar. And we have phasing issues. Well, because it wasn't recorded in phase, and the phase switch isn't going to fix that. Because when you look at it, let's make this these two go together. So these two are the same file. So this is technically where it starts, right here, and this is right there where it actually starts. So we're going to have to move it by who knows how much, but roughly about this. Seems to be good. Here you can see it clearer on the next two. Let's see. There's a, do you see this hump up and then down? And you can see up and down. So we will take this up right here and move it to where the other up is, and then down. Right here, that's definitely the same thing, okay? Now we should not have any more phase issues. It's something to know because it's going, of course, through extra stuff and then coming back. So now we listen again, and the phasing should be gone. Drastic, but let's see in context.
That's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the fine.
I mean, subtle in the background, kind of cool. Okay, let's go to what if you want to use it for not guitar, okay? I have this only room drum track here, which is way cool already. So we actually took the drums out, only used the room and compressed the shit out of it. It's way cool for this part.
Hey, gotta read between the lines. There is no rest and no release till I solve the case. Gotta save my face.
Now, let's look at it. That is over here, verse 1 room. And I can send that to the canvas as well because I made a send pre-fader. Gonna take this down so we don't hear it. And now it's going just the same way into the pedal. But we're gonna make it a little bit more interesting. So let's go back on the table. So after the macro dose, we now have the Eventide H90 also in there for some crazy shenanigans. I called up the polyphony shimmer thing, so let's see what that sounds like. By the way, something like the Eventide, which is clocking in at like $1,200 or something, can be switched to line or instrument level. So with the Eventide, you wouldn't need the canvas, but you do need it if you want to go into the macro dose or a fuzz or whatever other pedal you need if it's not capable of line level. Of course, Eventide is studio gear, so they can be switched to that.
That's a puzzle.
That's a polyphonic delay bullshit something. And you know what, why not? But we're also going to use the macro dose because it's in here. Going to go to a really cool setting. Okay, and now we're going to turn on the crazy polyphony. And I made a track with that input, which in this case is mono. And gonna turn that off. Bring that in. We can now mute that. I can mute the canvas. I can mute all this because we're done. And now we have this to mix in. These are, of course, drastic ideas. It's really up to you what you're doing with it. So
There's a puzzle in my mind, and I like the final piece. Lost it on the way, the price I have to pay. Gotta read between the lines. There is no rest and no release till I sold.
And that, folks, is what you can do with the Canvas reamp from Walrus Audio. You can, of course, do that with any other reamp box, but this is, it's cool. It's passive. It is a simple thing. It's got volume, it's got everything that you want on it. High quality parts. I personally say don't do reamping unless you absolutely have to. Having the DI as a fallback might make you complacent and not really care about the sound you're dialing in the first place, which you should. But being able to send tracks like this through pedals, keyboards, Rhodes, organs, all that stuff, heart, liver, organs, get it? Not funny. Through pedals is great. And for me, having this in my arsenal really means I now have that ability, because I didn't have a reamp box, I really didn't, to send whatever I want through guitar pedals and instrument level effects. That's really what it's about. It was a long, complicated video. The big warning I have is know your routing. Know what's coming in where it's going, what the thing is doing, where things are coming back, what you're recording, pre-fader, post-fader. These are things you probably should be familiar with to make the most out of this. And you probably also need an interface that lets you route at least to some degree. I have the volts from Universal Audio, and I'm pretty sure I can't actually assign tracks the way that I did it here. So be careful and make sure that you have the routing capabilities to make the most out of your new purchase that you're getting right now. The link below, which is the Walrus Audio Canvas reamp. I don't know how much it is. Please look it up. And you know what? If you don't like that one, there's others. What do I know? I just showed you what I needed to show you. And I like the people from Walrus, and they sent me little pictures and say, hello, we love you. Ah, Leslie, I think I know what he wrote. We're always trying to figure out what it says below here, because that dude's got a horrible handwriting. It could say Henning, fuck up, but I think it's funk up, because that's when he sent me a phaser. I think it means funk up. Well, you funk up too. Well, links below. Thanks for watching this far. And because you did, we're nice. We're going to give you some animals at the end.